We're with Congressman Ron Paul, the Republican presidential candidate. Dr. Paul, who is a OBGYN, is a 10-term GOP congressman from Texas, and he's regarded as certainly one of the surprises of this race. Are you glad you entered, Congressman?
Well, certainly I am. I'm very pleased with the enthusiasm for the program that I've been offering, but I am a bit surprised about it, but very pleased with the number of people who have joined us and the money they've sent me, so there's been a lot of encouragement.
So I guess you're surprised that it's more than you expected.
Yes, I mean, I was very reluctant to do this. I didn't have any idea how many people would really want to hear about the Constitution and limited government and balanced budgets. And I didn't know how many people would be interested in me wanting to bring the troops home, you know, from not only from the Middle East, but from around the world. But it really has fallen on a lot of ears, and people are responding very favorably. So this pleases me to no end.
What, Congressman, are some logical expectations for Iowa?
Pardon me?
What are some logical expectations for Iowa?
Oh, for me, I think just to do well. If we don't come, near the bottom, I think we're going to do well. Our momentum started a year ago. We weren't well known and had no money, and now we're raising money very handily and raised $20 million this last quarter. So tomorrow, we have to just do well. Come in the middle, to me, would be doing well. So I don't set any particular goals and say I have to come in first or second or I'm going to quit. The funding has been so strong that my supporters indicate that they're funding this campaign all the way up through February. So I have to plan to spend that money in the best way I can.
Are the expectations about the same for New Hampshire?
Well, yes, the same, but I think we'll be surprising a lot of people. I think some of the polls show us not doing that great. We're not at the top, but I think we're going to do better than the polls have shown, and I think we'll do well tomorrow, and then I think that will help build momentum for New Hampshire, and we have a real strong organization in New Hampshire.
If you had to pick one key thing in all of your planks that has driven you, would it be the troops coming home?
Yes, it really is. The overall, it's a foreign policy, but this plan for the war had gone on many years, even before this administration took office. And it probably was the event that made me finally decide and go along with so many of my supporters that urged me to do this. It was the war that was going on and the lack of necessity for it, the cost in human lives, and both over there as well as our own, plus the cost financially. I mean, this country's in big trouble. I mean, the dollar's on the ropes and the standard of living is going down in this country. We can't afford medical care for people in this country. At the same time, we're spending continuously hundreds of billions of dollars overseas. We have to come to our senses and start talking about a sensible foreign policy and taking care of our people here at home.
Have the major candidates in your party not addressed that?
I don't think they've touched it because they've sort of been locked in. They, when we ran in the year 2000, we ran against Clinton's foreign policy, and President Bush ran on a humble foreign policy and no nation building, no policing of the world, and we condemned what Clinton has done. Now they feel like they're locked in. They can't think for themselves. They don't think in constitutional terms or what our traditions were all about. And I think it's going to hurt our party unless we wake up to the fact that the American people are tired of what's going on in the Middle East, actually tired of spending all this money overseas and being in 130 countries, 700 bases around the world. So this is an opportunity for us to start talking about taking care of our people much better here at home.
What would President Paul's policy be toward Pakistan?
Like it would be against for all other nations. The Pakistan mess that's going on right now is a reflection of exactly what I complain about. We just invested $10 billion in Musharraf, a bad investment. What did we get for it? He didn't get Osama bin Laden for us. He's a military dictator. He has support of 8% of the people. We actually motivated Bhutto to go in there and look at the mess that's in there. And we're seen as running puppet governments. We go from one puppet to the next. We were with Musharraf. We're switching over to Bhutto. And the people get very upset. Even Bhutto said our support of Musharraf was motivating al-Qaeda, because people resent us propping up military dictators around the world. So this is a perfect example of the unintended consequences of an interventionist foreign policy, which I so strongly object to.
Couple of domestic things. You want to get rid of the IRS, which brings in, I think, over $1 trillion a year. How do you replace that?
Well, hopefully we don't want to replace it because, you know, if we lost $1 trillion, we'd still have as much money as we had 10 years ago. Government was way too big then. But you can only take care of that problem by getting rid of the IRS if you're willing to cut. So if we just cut the income tax out and didn't cut government, it would be a financial mess. So I would say the only place politically you can get a consensus, liberals and conservatives, would be cutting some of this overseas expenditure and bring our troops home.
You're a doctor. Should health care be a right?
No, absolutely not. People have a right to their life. They have a right to their liberty. They have a right to pursue their happiness, and they should have a right to keep their earnings. But they don't have a right to a house or a right to a job or a right to medical care. And besides, once government decides those are rights, you end up with much less. Once the government gets involved in planning, central planning, whether it's education or medicine or housing, look at what they did when they decided everybody should have a house. We had a housing bubble. Now we have a housing bubble that's collapsing. People are losing their homes. So this whole motivation, the purpose of government is to protect liberty and understand how the marketplace works. So a truly compassionate person would argue the case for truly free markets and sound money. That's what we need. Then you would help people, but not by the argument that people have a right to some type of a service. That means you have to take that service from somebody else. That involves violence. But what we want to do is protect the right of individuals, right to their life. That's what the Constitution talks about, and that's what made America great. That's what we have forgotten. That's what we have to renew.
How are the less fortunate, through no fault of their own, then protected?
But there would be a lot less of them. Today, what we're moving toward is a lot more people that are unfortunate, and nobody's going to take care of them. Today, if we continue to do what we're doing, the Social Security recipients aren't going to have anything. And now, today, we're closing down hospitals because we can't afford to care because we have corporate care. But we look back to what happened before 1965, before government got into medical care. I used to work in a charity hospital. I made $3 an hour. Nobody was ever turned away. The churches ran the hospitals. Even yet today, there are hospitals. There's a hospital in my district, which is a burn hospital, and people can still get free care. There would be so much prosperity, there would be so fewer poor people that people would be taken care of. But it's something that once you use coercion and force and the ideas of socialism, you end up getting more poverty and more people suffering and more people in need. We've just lost our faith and confidence and understanding how a free market works. That's what we have to renew.